The attack on the 14th of February on a village in Cameroon that left 23 people dead, the majority of them children, is a shocking episode in the ongoing crisis that's been afflicting the northwest and southwest regions, that's the Anglophone regions, for the past 3 years. Witnesses to the attack said that some 40 armed men, including members of the security and defense forces, attacked the village, which is in the department of Donga in northwest Cameroon, opening fire on the people and burning down houses. According to information from UN colleagues on the ground, among the 23 people killed were 15 children, 9 of whom were under the age of 5. The victims also included 2 pregnant women, one of whom died of her injuries in hospital. We note that the Cameroon government announced yesterday, on 17th of February, that there would be an investigation into the killings and that the findings would be made public. So we urge the authorities to ensure that the investigation is independent, impartial and thorough, and that those responsible are held fully to account.
Welcome to another episode of Voices. My name is Augustine Ambe, and you are?
Rogers Atembo.
Rogers, the story this whole week, or last week, part of last week, this whole Garbuh story actually started on February 14th. And I think the story was hiding until it was investigated and brought out, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Yeah, so that's really what we want to talk about today, and a few other stories that are not too far from that story. But Roger, what I want to say is that so Garbuh happens. It was hidden for a while. Do you know how it finally came out?
No, I mean, it wasn't hidden because our people were trying to put the story out there. I mean, if you went to different WhatsApp forums, the people were trying to push the story. But the international community picked it up. So, which then made it more visible because our people were tweeting it. Those who know how to tweet, they were tweeting it. They were sharing it with different international organizations. So, the international community picked it up. And so, when they picked it up, they then made it a bigger story than us just talking in between ourselves.
Yes, before I come to that big story, do you find that story as big as they made it?
Well, it is not the first case.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to drive at.
Yes, it is
that they have done this to our people. Do you know that La République even actually they promise you if you go on day one after Paul Biya came and declared his war, you remember he started by saying that people should evacuate villages. Or if they catch them, they would say that they are terrorists or something like that.
They're enablers.
They're enablers. And then he went down there and killed people and burned villages, and that's when the burning started. And it has never stopped. And they have killed babies. You've always talked about baby Martha, right?
Well, it was before there was baby Martha. There was this other baby in Kumbu.
Yes, Swivism.
No, that was not Swivism.
Okay.
Swivism was about 16 or 18. But there was another child in Car. In Bui that was killed. That her head. That was the first child that the head was blown off.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes, and she was stripped naked.
Yes,
and the mother was killed too. So, what Pinin happened?
Yes.
Bali happened.
Yes.
I think Ekona has been happening so many times.
Yes.
There was other incidents in Bali Kumbat.
Yes.
So there has been so many Garbuhs that have happened. And you remember there was a time that on one of these shows, I said what La Republic is going to do is that they are going to come in this community and kill 7, and then they go to the next community and kill 10, and they go to the next community and kill 5.
I remember you saying that.
Yes, at the end of the day, when
the numbers add up.
The numbers add up, but they are doing it bit by bit.
Yes.
In this community, in that community, so they jump from here, go to the kill 5 people, kill 10 there, kill 3 here. It doesn't look like, I mean, some people might say, oh, it's just 3 people that died here. But at the end of the day, when you put all of that together, you realize the amount of killing that they are doing within our communities. So for what reason, the international community decided to say, okay, these children, maybe they just had enough of it.
Yeah, because and when you say that, it really comes to what I was thinking, that Ambazonians or the people of southern Cameroons or Anglophones, call us what you may, but seeing burnt babies, charred bodies in houses that have been razed down is not new. Mm-hmm. Because they've been doing that to us for the past 3 years. So Garbuh happens. Mm-hmm. And La République du Cameroon sends out their new Minister of Information, and he sounded exactly like the old Minister of Information. He used the word fake news. He talked about
the Republican Army.
The Republican Army that is professional and fight with honor, and he talked about getting engaged with Amber boys when they were absolutely. There's never been so. They just kept lying. So didn't you find that? There's a time to lie. You know what I'm saying? And there's a smart lie. There are reasons where you look and say, you know what? You've heard people say, okay, if a wife catches the husband or the husband catches a wife cheating, it's a good reason to lie. You know what I'm saying? But when you see a government lie constantly, I don't know if the first lie with Chiroma was okay. You know what I'm saying? It's like when they started killing people, they used to kill them and throw them in their cars and run with them because they didn't want the world to know they're doing those crimes. But to come and do the same thing when they did it, and then the BBC caught them in the case of the northern Cameroon, to come and do the same thing using the same words, didn't you find that a little insane?
Well, I see you people give a lot of credit to the BBC. I mean, the BBC did a good job of bringing the satellite images, which they have done in Garbuh too.
Yes.
To bring the satellite images before the incident and after the incident to show what was happening. Mm-hmm. But those guys who killed the women and the children in the north, they were first outed by our people,
yes,
our social media people.
Yes,
because they were able to go on Facebook and pull out all of that evidence and put it together.
Yes.
What the BBC just did was go and bring those satellite images to reconfirm what we were saying. Mm-hmm. Coming back to the lies that you're talking that these guys are saying, I think there is some truth in what he was saying, because if you look at that context, if you look at that place, if you want to call it a country, and what it is made of, what they call the Republican Army, what they train the army to do, it is doing exactly what they were because the army was never trained to protect the people. It is supposed to be used as an instrument to subjugate the people, to keep the people in line. So if you look at it in that light, their Republican Army, as they call it in quotes, did exactly what it was trained to do. What they were trained to do.
Yes.
So
yes, and I think this is not the first time we're saying that on this show.
Yeah.
Because I remember in one of the shows I said that I had a relative who was a gendarme.
Yes.
And he shared with me that they're trained that when they are coming down the road, people need to be afraid of them and respect them because they represent the state. Mm-hmm.
So that is that is what they were trained to do, and that is what they were asked to go out and do. And that is why up to this point, and I can say that with certainty and confidence now, because it is not, we have counted the number of places where that has happened, and nobody has ever been held accountable, which means it is a policy of that Republican
So that's what they expect their soldiers to
Yes,
do.
that is what they expect their soldiers to do. The question for you and I now, or for the international community, is that are those the standards? Are those the agreements that the international community is going to live by? Because remember, one of the ladies that has been very articulate on this Garbuh issue. I think she's a researcher with Human Rights Watch. You know, she talks about it. She asks what the international community is going to do about these things, you know, and puts the ball squarely at the feet of the international community, because we know what the international, even conventions of war, what are you supposed to do in if you are in war? Are you supposed to just go out there and kill everybody?
I was to come to that, because the way I wanted to address that was more that this is an army that is armed to the teeth by the United States, the Chinese, the French, call all of them. They are trained by Israelis. Americans are there training them too. The Germans were down there too. So this is a group of people who have been trained and equipped by the best in the world, and all they do is go around shooting babies in the head, burning women in their homes, killing pregnant women with the babies in their stomach, and then they go. Did you see a rally that they held in Bamenda today? You saw a thing that they held in Bamenda, and they were pumping themselves up. And I looked at it, and it's like a bunch of crazies who are pumping themselves out after having killed babies. And I think their leader was saying, oh, they are trying to boost the morale of their soldiers because people are trying to bring them. No, if I were in that army, I would have escaped, because armies are not trained and armed to go and kill their own citizens. You are the person saying Ambazonians are your citizens, and then you take military arms or war and go and kill unarmed citizens. It's a shame. If I were in that army, I would escape.
But that is what that researcher was saying. That what are these partners, these Republic partners that you just named, who have been training all of these military guys? What are they going to do? What is going to be their response in the face of these kinds of atrocities against civilian people? So she was saying, you guys train these people, you have military cooperations with them, and all of this stuff. What is going to be the response when the army that you train is going out every day, shooting innocent children, women, burning them, and doing all kinds of stuff? So that is the question that she poses to the international community. And I think those are some of the things that we, as citizens, are supposed to take up and follow up with her. I think her research on this particular Garbuh topic is coming out this week.
Let me say this. I'm just letting us bring what is coming in our minds, and we're jumping some of the flow. So the minister comes out and lies. But then we find out the truth. And the truth is that these thugs, I hate to call them an army anymore, these trained terrorists, these armed terrorists, went and brought in Bororo people and armed them, and they went down and caused a mayhem in that place. Is that the first time that has happened?
No, we've seen that in Womb. We have seen that in Womb. And that is trying to pitch one population against the other. Because remember, we have said that these people cannot fight, right? We have established that here, that this so-called army in the Republic of Cameroon cannot fight, because our people don't even have anything to fight with, and yet these guys cannot fight with them. So what do? They come to these various communities and try to pitch the community against the other, because there have always been problems between the Fulani people, the Fulani herders, and the farmers in every local community that you go to. So they will come and want to exploit these things and pitch these communities against each other. So they go and recruit these guys and come, and then they go into these villages and they kill. So it is not the first time. We saw that in Womb.
Yes.
They tried it in Babanki too.
Yes.
And it didn't work, and they went to Garbuh.
But this is the way I wanted to frame it, okay? Because sometimes to understand it, you have to look at the history. La République started in 2000 in September 27. No, not September. September was when they declared war. Before that, remember that the kids who went to protest in Commercial Avenue were all shot dead. They did not bring the Bororo people then. Then when Paul Biya declared his war on his own people on September 22nd and started killing our people, they did not bring Bororo people. In the whole of 2017, they did not bring on Bororo people. It is in 2019 that I...
The first incident in Womb.
Yes. So these are... When Paul Biya declared his war on Ambazonians, he thought that it would be a knockout. Right? So they started in 2017, and they brought in their troops, and they came back with broken legs from Manfe, you remember? And at that time, their tactic was very clear. It looks like this is something that they've practiced. And I don't know if that's what the Israelis trained them to do. That to go and fight a war, even your own population, or to take a police action. Because the whole thing that is happening is police action. In any civilized country, this would be a police action. They first of all declare that people in these 6 counties should take off if we catch you there. Well, I mean, like we said when we did our show, we said that it's like asking the city of New York to evacuate New York because there's a assumed gang there that killed the police, isn't it? So in 2016, so when they started, they were burning villages and killing women and babies. They were doing that. Then they shifted strategy, and they shifted the strategy because they did that for about a year or two. It did not work. Then they came and said, okay, let's see if we can use a trumpet and bring out Amber Boys to come. And you remember when they had trumpets going around? So they've tried so many things. And then they had their dialogue. They had all kinds of things. The dialogue was also in 2019. So they tried everything. And it's only after they failed in defeating the Amber Boys, then they started bringing in the Bororos. I wanted that history so that people can see that what they are doing is not a winning strategy. These are people struggling. There are people struggling. You know, there's one is Somba that used to say that you cannot win a war against your own people. And not with a population that's up to 20% of your population. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a failed strategy. And now they're bringing in the Bororos. And the Bororos are causing a mayhem in the place. Because in Womb, they burn villages, they burn people. You know, the only thing is that we cannot put some of those images because YouTube doesn't want us to do that. But they do all of those things. So do you see that this is more... that these are desperate people doing desperate things rather than an army that should go and pump itself that, yeah, I'm fighting against babies and I'm feeling good, isn't it?
Yeah, they're desperate. And one of my brothers, my elder brothers, asked me if these people does it mean that we are actually winning this war that will push these people to do these things? Like I say, yes. They are doing desperate things because they have nothing to fall back on. They cannot fight. And since they cannot fight, the only thing they can do is go and punish the population.
Yes. So
the other thing that we talked about, remember on one of these shows we had talked about the fact that they use these things as a strategy to demoralize our people. So they go into these communities and they kill all these people, strip them naked, take the pictures because they are the ones taking the pictures.
Yes. And
they put them on social media so that it should act as a demoralizing effect, that people should just throw their hands up and say, I've had enough of this. But it is having a reverse effect.
Yes.
Because now we are saying that enough of our people have died, that the only way we have to end this thing is to go all the way through with it.
Yes. So they take the Bororo people and they go there and they cause this mayhem at night. And then, you know, the other thing that they did, I don't know if you listened to one of the reports where there was also a pastor who said they brought them into cities, into the village center, made all of them lie down, and they were telling them that they've gone and killed babies and women, and that if they try to, if they do something, they would come and do the same thing to them. Remember? I don't know if you listened to that report.
That's a way to threaten them into silence.
So they do all of this and then leave. Obviously, the story breaks out. The minister lies about it. And then it looks to me that the United Nations and Human Rights Watch went there faster than they could. Is that what happened?
Well, it looks like there was a United Nations team there, because there were reports of the UN guy being tried. They tried to silence him, whether he left or whether he didn't leave. I mean, those things, I don't know if the United Nations went there or Human Rights went there, but Human Rights Watch, from the reports of that researcher, they spoke to people on the ground.
Yes, they did.
And they could verify, the people who did the burials and some of the relatives, they could verify all of that information. For the United Nations, this is not the first time. So they have an agency there, they have a Human Rights, a High Commission of Refugees there, they have all the UN agencies there. So if they wanted to find out, even their agencies on the ground could have been able to feed them some of the information. So it is just an organization that is inept. That's the best way I can describe it.
Well, I think that you're actually giving them credit, because inept means you're in a situation where you cannot help yourself. I think it's a conniving organization. I don't think the United Nations, of course they call themselves United Nations, so it's a league of governments. And governments are all about power and conniving and taking care of their interests, and sometimes that interest is not the interest of the people. So when you talk about the United Nations, I wanted to read something here and see what you think about it. So this is the United Nations saying, the Secretary General is deeply concerned over reports about the killing of civilians, including children, in an attack on the village of Garbuh in the northwest region of Cameroon on February 14th. He extends his deepest condolence to the family. Do you really accept this condolence that he's extending here? It's like somebody who stands and he knows that you're going to be murdered, and then after you've been murdered, then he turns and tells your family, accept my condolence. Would you accept that because that's the role the United Nations has been playing in this Southern Cameroon issue? Because not only the United Nations was part of the recolonization effort of the people of British Southern Cameroons, but they have been seeing this happening, and our people have been going to the United Nations for decades, isn't it?
Yes, since 1996.
And we're telling them that what is happening now is happening at a low level, isn't it? So do you accept condolence from this gentleman?
Not especially from him, because he is one of those people who went and got the statue, the golden statue.
From Paul Biya?
Yes, and left without saying anything. So they just put out these statements because it's like, okay, what do I have to do to save my face? So the statements don't mean anything. And I think somebody tweeted that it is not enough to say they are concerned. Concerned? How can you be concerned every single day you are concerned and you're not doing anything about it?
No, I was particularly perturbed by this whole condolence thing. Let me just finish it. So he extends his condolence to the families and calls on the government of Cameroon to conduct an investigation and to ensure that those responsible are held accountable. I mean, you see the ridiculousness of this. Let me just expand on the analogy I just made. So he watches the criminal murder people. You turn and tell the families, well, accept my condolence. And then turns and tell the criminal, do a thorough investigation and report back to him. Isn't that what it is here?
Yeah.
Is that acceptable? Is that acceptable to anyone?
I wish they would have done that in Myanmar.
The Secretary General calls on armed actors to refrain from attacks against civilians and to respect international humanitarian and international human rights law. He reiterates the readiness of the United Nations to work with all stakeholders towards a political solution to the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon through meaningful dialogue. You know, there's so much in this. Have you ever heard them say what they're saying here now before? That they are ready, readiness of the United Nations to work with all stakeholders. I don't know. Have you ever heard them say that before?
I've never heard them say that before, but how would they be ready?
No, it's been 3 years. It's been 3 years of the murder of armless people of Ambazonia. You know, when they talk of fighters and then they say, "Oh, it's violent on both sides." No, see, most of this these are statements from governments trying to excuse their other governments to get away with murder, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So let me ask you another question. Is the UN a stakeholder in the situation in Ambazonia?
Well, they created it. They are the ones responsible for the death of all the people that we have lost, because they created this situation. If they had respected the Article 76B of the United Nations Charter, we would not be where we are today. So they created this problem, and we have been telling them over the years that this problem exists. They kill people in isolation, they do this and they do that, and they have ignored it. And when this thing started in 2016, I remember our rally here,
yes,
in St. Paul,
yes,
where I said the United Nations has unfinished business in our territory.
Yes.
So they have not listened to all those calls, and now they are talking about being concerned and all of that. And every day these people go out and they kill 14 people, they kill 22 people, they kill 10 here, they kill 10 here, and they remain concerned. So they are responsible for this. They have been letting us down, and will keep telling the world until somebody is going to stand on the United Nations Security Council or the United Nations General Assembly and say this is enough.
So remember that when La République was talking about its monologue, they were part of the people saying, yeah, they were encouraging it, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And so what other meaningful so that the first dialogue wasn't meaningful?
Mm-hmm. See, what these people have been doing all along, their hope has been that we are going to be tired and go away like it has always happened before. That has been their hope all along. So they have been dragging their feet. They have been just wishing that they wake up one day and this thing will just disappear. But like I say here all the time, our people are determined that this problem at this particular time will be solved once and for all. The price that our people have paid so far up to this point for the past 3 years, we are going to solve this problem. Whether the United Nations likes it or not, this problem will be solved now.
So after La République has burned villages, they've burned, and the burning started with Grandma Happy. Mm-hmm. They've shot children. They've gone into houses. Remember when they started in Manfe, there was a report that they went and took a pot soup of some woman that she was cooking in her, and they put sand in it. I found that really weird. I didn't understand that. But you see how that has expanded to taking food that is stored by families, throw them out. Take corn that is from the barns that is preserved either to eat out of season during the dry season. They burn it, and then they've gone to the farms and burn crops. They've gone into piggeries, kill the pigs, shot the goats. They've done everything. And as I'm saying this, I'm still thinking about the UN saying what they're saying. Because one of the things that we've done very well in this struggle, or our people have done very well in this struggle, is that they have reported everything. Not just by talking, but by producing videos. And those videos are subject to verification like they did in the north, right? Mm-hmm. Like the BBC did in the north, and they've done in some of the burnings in our territory. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what has been reported, the UN knows about it. And every other person or every other government who has sat silent knows about it. So after all of that is done, but you still heard, I don't want us to go through what different countries have said, because they did not sound different from the UN. Mm-hmm. Did they?
No.
But there was something new. There was something new. There were some responses that took me unawares. One of them was the I don't know if that was also either a French parliamentarian. Was it a parliamentarian? Mm-hmm. Who actually talked up?
Sébastien.
What did he say, please?
En pensant à ces enfants, à ces gens massacrés à Garbuh le 14 février, dont on sait aujourd'hui que le massacre a été perpétré par des membres de l'armée régulière, accompagnés de civils issus d'une tribu, et donc on est avec tous les ingrédients d'un dérapage vers des crimes de guerre et de génocide. Je veux simplement attirer l'attention vraiment auprès de mes collègues. On est dans un moment terrible, et il faut vraiment qu'on soit très présent à poser un regard sur le Cameroun, et il n'est pas question d'ingérence, mais vraiment d'aider un pays ami dans cette circonstance.
Je suis tout à fait d'accord avec ce que vous avez.
Well, I think he was calling on the French government or the French parliament to investigate those killings in Garbuh, because he described them as genocide.
Thank you. He talked about them being war crimes and a genocide. That was new, wasn't it?
That was new.
That was new. I also I really truly think that the report of the Human Rights Watch was also new.
Yeah, yes, because they have also been playing wishy-washy with us.
In our report, which was published yesterday, we show that the attack in Garbuh was carried out by Cameroonian soldiers alongside with a group of armed ethnic Fulani men. And we counted the account provided by the government, both in terms of the number of people killed, 5 for the government, 21 for us, as well as in terms of the dynamic of the attack. And we have credible elements showing that what happened was not an incident, but a deliberate massacre of civilians. And in order to collect the information, we have interviewed people on the ground, and we have also been able to analyze satellite imagery showing burning consistent with the witnesses' testimonies.
So is there something that has grabbed the international attention or the attention of the international community with this Garbuh thing?
Well, like I said, these people have been playing, they wanted to maintain the status quo. The Karen Bassis of the world and everybody.
The Michelle Bachelets.
Yes. So they were hoping that by now we would have run out of steam and things should be returning to normal. So, but unfortunately for them, things have not returned to normal. And now they are seeing that they cannot ignore some of these killings that La Republique has been killing. You know, the killing in Garbuh might be a little bit different from what happened in Pinin, because Pinin, Atang and Jipo went and actually killed young men that in the face of some people they might consider them as fighters. Mm-hmm. But here they went and killed children, 5, 6, 7-year-old children, sleeping peacefully with their parents in their homes. And you take them out and you go and slaughter them. Then you kill a woman who is pregnant and kill the pregnant child. So they can do these things just to an extent, and some people will not they can't take it anymore.
You know what La Republique is doing to us is what they did in the Bamileke lands. You saw the report of the French helicopter pilot. Mm-hmm. Is it any different from what is happening now?
No, it is not different. They did the same thing. But I think that a Somba guy that you just quoted, is it Benoit or Belois or something like that?
I don't remember
that
his
said that La Republique cannot win a war against part of its population, that is about 20%. He is one of the people who also said that the reason that La Republique was successful with the Bamileke people was because the Marquis, as they called them at that time, did not have a diaspora.
Okay.
In this, our struggle, La République is not going to be successful because we have a very powerful diaspora. So if they think that the strategy that they used and succeeded with the Bamli case in those days, they are going to use it and be successful with us, it is not going to work.
Okay, let's just go down the many reasons why La République is doing this. So they're doing it because they succeeded in the Bassa and the Bamileke lands.
Mm-hmm. So it was a strategy that worked.
It was a strategy that worked then. Mm-hmm. They also one of the reasons why they're doing the same thing is because the people who caused that particular genocide, it was a genocide.
Yes.
The people who caused that same situation are still in power today. Paul Biya was part of the Ahidjo administration. You can see the pictures at that time. He was there. And remember that if you go into the people who are still in power, I think I in one of the reports I said that the average age there is 65, and somebody called me and told me that is higher than that.
Yeah, it is.
So the people who caused that genocide are still there. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And they're still doing the same thing. Remember that the first beheading that was done of what's his name?
Sam Sawyer.
Of Sam Sawyer was done by La République.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to a piece by General Semenge, who is one of their retired generals. Mm-hmm. And he said that the reason why they were cutting those heads at the time was to tell the population that whatever they believed about the invincibility of their people, they're not invincible, so they needed to cut the heads and show them.
Il y a eu un sentiment. D'abord, les rebelles ont fait dire aux populations qu'ils étaient, qu'on ne pouvait pas les tuer. Qu'on ne pouvait pas les tuer. Donc, les populations croyaient vraiment beaucoup à l'invulnérabilité des Noirs. Alors, on était obligé, quand on a tué un chef rebelle, vraiment, de couper sa tête et de venir l'exposer dans les villages. Bon, je pense quand même que c'était un peu d'information pour essayer de...
You see, so what they did at that time is the same thing they're practicing now, except the situation has changed. And do you think the Abba boys can only get better or they can get worse?
No, they're getting better. They can't get worse. We were on the ground. We were sitting on the ground. We had nothing.
So we are on the ground now. We cannot fall.
No, you can't fall.
You can't fall when you're already on the ground. Yes.
Yes. So they can only get better, and they have proven so far, because La République is unable to fight with them. That is why you are seeing all this killing of women and children.
Yes. So basically, the Amba boys are not going away. If that's what La République thinks is going to happen, they are not going away. So we have two reasons that they practiced it in their territory, in their country, and it succeeded. So they're trying it in our country. The second reason we just gave is that the people who caused that particular genocide are still the people ruling today. Why? Because the French keep them in power. And the French were the people who trained them. If you hear of that helicopter pilot, he was not talking about something that the Africans were doing to each other. It's what the French commanders that were in place were doing.
This former French soldier was sent to Cameroon between 1962 and 1964 in the Bamileke region. He was a helicopter pilot and witnessed several massacres committed by the Cameroonian army. It was strongly supported and funded by France. The army targeted members of the UPC, a party that opposed President Amadou Ahidjo. The UPC believed that after independence in 1960, Ahidjo was simply France's hand-picked puppet. For the first time on television, Max Bardet describes the atrocities he saw.
They had to finish the men off, but not the women. They just let them die like that. They shot the women with Kalashnikovs and also cut off their breasts and disemboweled them.
During these massacres, Max Bardet was accompanied by a French officer.
The officer who was with me did not want anyone to be able to say that France was involved in this whole thing.
So the Cameroon army is trained by the French, and you can see they're using the same tactics, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So that's three. Can you think about another one? why this thing is happening exactly the same. Please.
Well, it is the same policy everywhere. That's the same French policy in France, Afrique. You know, we have to come in there with our army and use every means at our disposal to suppress the population. We decide exactly what is going to happen in each of these countries. So that guy that was the French Secret Service guy who said they decide what happens in each of those countries.
No, I think what he said was that the situation in La Republique is going to be decided in La Republique. That's one.
Yeah, that is what he said. But
yes.
I'm looking at the retired guy, the guy who participated in killing Omnube.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't remember his name.
Yes, well, he said Omnube even treated his son.
Oh, that was the ambassador in Gabon.
Yes, at that time.
In that Al Jazeera story.
Yes.
Yes.
So you remember what he said? That they have to do everything within their power to make sure that things are the way they want.
Yes.
So they are going to use all these strategies to make sure that they kill, one, to intimidate the people so the people should shut up. They have done that. So they have used every single means that they know how, and it has not worked. And so the rest of the world is now telling them, look, probably they are calling Macron, and that's why he was talking like that the other week, and telling him, hey, you said your guys would take care of this thing, what is happening?
Don't go to Macron yet, pa, because you're accurate in bringing Macron, because we have talked about the French training La Republique troops to be what they are, the monsters that they are now. Mm-hmm. And we have tied the French to it. But remember that in 1993, our people were saying, let's go back to the federation that used to be. Mm-hmm. And Mitterrand was one of those that advised, the newspapers published it, mm-hmm. that Paul Biya should use the military to suppress us. Mm-hmm. And he said that because he knows that the rest of the world will not do anything. Mm-hmm. Or Western powers are not going to do anything because they are allies, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those are the masters of the universe. And so these are some of the reasons why you see this mayhem going on. You see they come and take poor, uneducated Africans, train them, arm them to go and kill their own people, and they sit behind and give you the excuses that the UN is giving you, and some of what the rest of the world is saying. Now I think Macron. Now let's expand on Macron. You know, Macron came out the other day after he was questioned by the activists, mm-hmm. and he showed how much power he has over Paul Biya, because he said, I made him. That's basically what he was saying. Mm-hmm. I made him release Kamto, right? Mm-hmm. And basically he was saying, I will make him resolve the situation in Ambazonia. But do you think they really want to resolve it?
No, they will not. They don't want to. Well, they want to resolve it. Their wish, because if they don't resolve it, then they will keep having all these complaints from other European countries and the United States and all the other people.
Yes.
They want to resolve it, and that is why they had given him this free hand to play.
To bring things to normalcy.
To bring things to normal.
Normal. If you go and listen to the minister, he said we want things to be normalcy. What is normalcy for our people?
The National Defense and Security Forces have once again been subjected to second-guessing and false allegations in their struggle for a return to normalcy in the northwest and southwest regions of our country.
They had given him all the time, and that is why he went after their national dialogue. He went and gave a report to him, and he himself said he came and gave a report to Macron.
Yes.
That is also to support the fact that because one of the guys who were paid to go on the street mm-hmm. to go and protest that France, Cameroon as an independent country, they forgot that the guy that they called their president actually told the Sudanese guy mm-hmm. in France during that what they call world whatever
war peace something
that he had came and gave a report to Macron
yes.
of the national dialogue.
Yes.
The people who are sitting there never knew what was agreed on the national, because he never talk to anybody.
No.
So, but why would he go and give a report to Macron if he's not answerable to him?
No, I mean, we know about the cooperation agreements.
So this is a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
For those people who are protesting and saying Cameroon is an independent country and things like that, because they don't know these things. So we are trying to educate them that, hey, your guy is what they call a boy.
No, he's a vassal of the French.
Yes.
He's just a governor. You know, there's a cartoon that somebody made, and Macron is in front of a board telling them that you are governors. Remember?
Yes.
Yes. And that's what is happening in France-Afrique.
So you ask if Macron wants to resolve it. Yeah, he wants to resolve the problem, but not in the way that you and I think. He knows that he is in a bind, because if he really wanted to resolve the problem, he would not have said they should release only Kamto. He would have said they should release Seseko and the other people.
Yes. Yes. No, he does not want them to release. But remember that Macron was in Nigeria, I think, was it last year or 2018?
Yeah.
And he talked about expanding the French language, and that the French, maybe it's not Nigeria, maybe it's Burkina Faso, where he was saying that he wants the French language to become the first language in the world, and that and they were looking on Africa to expand the French language. And I think a friend of mine reminded me that you cannot be expanding the French language and then murdering 1 million people in Rwanda who were French speaking at the time. So no, Macron does not. The French do not want that situation resolved, and the French don't want to get out of Africa. You know what the game they're trying to play with the ECO.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows that they want to keep their money. They want the cooperation agreements to stay. But let's come back home. There's another response I wanted you to react to. And I think this one kind of summarizes the whole thing about the international response. And this is from Jerry Rawlings.
That's my man.
He says, "Why is the world silent over Anglophone Cameroon while men, women, and children are killed in the most gruesome manner, shot, hacked, sometimes burnt alive in their homes just because they seek equality? Why does France and the rest of the world look the other way when it suits their selfish interests? How many more are going to die in the quest for parity in the southern Cameroons? What's happening to CNN, Al Jazeera, BBC, all, that they cannot keep an eye on what is going on? Or when they do, it is downplayed and underreported, as the BBC did a couple of days ago, when 22 people, including children, were burnt to death. It lacks the seriousness and detail necessary to pique the international conscience." You know, what he's saying here is very important. You remember when the BBC was interviewing this Human Rights Watch reporter you were talking about? Mm-hmm. The guy was, I don't know if he was trying to get more facts back, but he was trying almost like to disprove what she's saying. Mm-hmm. And I think that's because what the BBC needs to do is treat it more like a documentary. Because if you see the way they analyze what happened in northern Cameroons when they went and killed the women and their children, that was taken more seriously as a report, rather than questioning a journalist who just came from a murderous scene as though you're a trial lawyer trying to poke holes in her story.
We have credible elements showing that what happened was not an incident, but a deliberate massacre of civilians. And in order to collect the information, we have interviewed people on the ground, and we have also been able to analyze satellite imagery showing burning consistent with the witnesses' testimonies.
Right, okay, so not the accidental firefight. Nevertheless, you're actually making a very grave accusation that it's a deliberate move. How can you actually prove that? Because you have to prove chain of command, you have to prove orders, things like that. What is your evidence for this being a deliberate attack?
Did you see it that way?
Yeah, that is what the judge was trying to do. But you have to be fair to them too, because there is so much happening in the broadcast sphere now that you have to be sure. So I won't question him, because before you and I come on air, we have to be sure what we are saying. So the probing question that she responded to all of those questions.
Our findings show that this attack was carried out by the military, including members of the Rapid Intervention Battalion, between 10 and 15, according to the witnesses, and also by a group of armed men known as the Mbororo, which are ethnic Fulani living in the area. This information was gathered through interviews with over 25 people, including eyewitnesses to the attacks, people who actually saw what happened and were there, as well as people who were gathered by the military and threatened.
To me, what he was doing was to make sure that when the Republic comes out and starts saying the nonsense that they were saying, it is not going to stand in the face of what she had said, because she was credible, she had supporting evidence, and she had everything to back up what she was saying. So I don't fault the BBC journalists. That is the way we want journalists to work.
And I agree with that. And I listened to that particular interview because he was trying. This way I had an issue with it, because it almost like he wanted this woman to provide some scientific facts, because obviously she went down there. It was almost like, and this is where I thought he was crossing the line, that he almost wanted this journalist to produce a document like what the BBC produced in Northern Cameroon for him to believe. I think that's where I thought it was a little crossing the line.
I mean, this is kind of, it's all very well to say that you have a witness who saw things happen, but in order to prove deliberation by the Cameroonian armed forces, you have to be able to say that there was a policy and idea that they wanted to do. You're convinced that your evidence backs that up, are you?
When they don't do their job well, we hold them to account. So I like the line of question, because the woman did not lack the facts to give to him. So I was satisfied that he probed for whatever reason he was probing, and she was able to give him the facts as they are.
Yes, no,
and
I agree with you.
those facts have not changed. The Catholic Church came, those facts did not change. The United Nations probably is coming, those facts would not change. So whatever was his motive, she did stand up to the test.
Before I come back to this, I want to read a very quick statement now that you talked about.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to report to you that I just received a note saying that one of the people who reported to the BBC, or one of the eyewitnesses who spoke with the UN, has been murdered. So let me read this. Sad news. We've just gotten reliable information that Malam Danjuma, alias DJ, has been killed and dumped in Kikaikilaki in Bui. This is the man who granted the UN an interview during their visit to Garbuh after the massacre. So he adds other comments here, which maybe I should read, really.
No, don't read it, because I have an issue with that. Who is the author of that?
Who is the author of this?
Breaking news, yes.
Well, are you disputing that he's not been killed?
Yes.
Okay, then let's come back and renew it, because
this is why that BBC guy was asking these kinds of questions, because of information like this on the internet. So somebody has sat down. We have not seen any evidence. We've seen pictures of this guy. They said the corpse was dumped in Bui, but nobody has shown us. We have not seen any other evidence of that corpse that was dumped in Bui.
Let me say this, okay? The only reason, and I thought about all of that, the reason why I read this, right, is that because I had read that they came and picked this man at the mosque during Friday night's prayer and took him away. And I can tell you one thing. I have absolutely no limits on what La Republique would do to our citizens.
Absolutely.
So I would rather put this out and be wrong than hold it and give the benefit of doubt to La Republique. I would never. Because people who go and kill babies and burn them in the house are capable of doing anything. I just wanted to add that, and I'll come back to what Jerry Rawlings was saying. So here's Jerry Rawlings again. How can the US, the UK, and the Western allies watch Macron's beast do this to English-speaking Cameroonians. Considering that France is on the ground with its own troops in Mali, what prevents Macron from stopping this brutality, this atrocity in Cameroon? Should it surprise Europeans why Africans would risk their life to escape being hacked, shot, and trapped, burnt alive from their colonies? This really went back to the same thing we were talking about Macron, right?
Yeah.
That if he wanted to stop this, he would.
If he wanted to stop this, he would. But you see, I don't know. Are you done with the Rawlings?
Make a comment on this before I read the next one.
No, I think read the last part.
Well, this one, he says, if we are so powerless to act, can we at the very least condemn this very mindless savagery by President Paul Biya? How can we live with the thoughts of human beings being surrounded with guns and lighted up to burn, roasted alive? Why? The time has come to put an end to this modern-day barbarism. Enough of paying lip service to the Southern Cameroon problem. All people and countries of conscience must rise up and seek an urgent intervention to stop the mayhem. Jerry Rawlings.
Yeah. So that last part, he was addressing the African Union.
No, the African Union cannot do anything because of Mahama. What's his name? Mahama Mustafa or whatever is his.
But that is so. That's why. That is where I have a problem with, not with General Rawlings per se, but him as a former head of state, leaving the African countries. The African countries. I know you and I have had this discussion, and you are saying we cannot be asking it, but Gambia went and sued Myanmar in the International Court of Justice, and that case is going to be heard. And the Rohingya Muslims are going to have, those people who did everything to those Rohingya Muslims will have their day in court at the International Court of Justice because of who? The Gambia. So the African countries, our African brothers and sisters, we cannot be sitting here and asking the people in Europe who don't care about us, because they care about our resources. They don't care if we kill all of us, because then that gives them the possibility to come in and get those resources without any problems. But what about those African countries?
Well, let me say this. I think Jerry Rawlings is speaking as a matter of experience and as a matter of fact, okay? He already knows what you're talking about, and he knows that the AU has never done anything. So he's bypassing them and actually going where to some of the perpetrators, or to some of the people who are engineering. So when he asks the US and the UK, he's saying, control this man, Macron, he accuses Macron very directly on this.
I agree with everything that he says. Everything, he is right on the money. What I'm saying is, how about our own people? How is it that we cannot look at Nigeria. Nigeria is an enabler.
I was going to say.
Yes, in this genocide.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, forget about all other Francophone countries. But a country like Botswana, Namibia.
See, Pa, what you're doing now, right? You're saying what should be or what could be.
No,
Jerry Rawlings is trying to find a problem for the solution, and he's trying to go where there can be a possible solution. All these other ones you're talking about, he knows that they are what you're saying. And so he's not going to waste his time. And so he's addressing those who should solve this thing right now, because the man is
yeah, he's right.
He's
disappointed.
He's had it.
Yeah. I wish he was still in power.
So Jerry Rawlings just talked. Do you think something is going to happen?
Well, this is not the first time he has spoken now.
No, let's keep Jerry out. Do you think with the Garbuh and everything and all the anger expressed, the words spoken by everybody, do you think anything is going to happen?
Something is going to happen if we can bring ourselves to make it happen.
Well, my next question was, what should we do? But I'm trying to see if you think the international community have you heard anywhere? Have you read anything that tells you that somebody is saying something has to happen otherwise?
Well, see, sometimes we've said on this show that people said our struggle is a God-ordained struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I laugh at them, but sometimes I want to agree with them. Because if you look at the rift that has happened now between La République and France, because of that activist that asked Macron that questions, and he responded, and now La République went and paid hired hands to go out and protest at the French embassy,
mm-hmm.
and that has, I think, angered the French, and they are taking different measures.
What are they doing?
Well, it looks like there were some searches in France, and France is trying to do things differently. So, this thing, you don't know where it's going to end, but something is going to happen somewhere. Kamto has gathered a lot of people and is making a lot of noise. I know you're going to come to that. And La République is not worried about him anymore. So there are openings in different places. This thing is going to crumble.
No, let me say why I think it's going to crumble, okay? But I just wanted to see whether you think all this international noise is going to result to anything.
Well, we have to push them. It can result to something if we are consistent.
No, we have been pushing them.
Not enough.
But let me say this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're trying to go... La République is going to fail. And it's going to fail because of things like these.
No, La République has failed.
I mean, when I mean fail, I mean pack out of our country.
Yes.
They are going to pack out of Ambazonia, whether they like it or not. And I think, let me say something. I'm seeing the citizens of La République begin to react in a different way now. And I think they're doing that because they're already seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I'm saying? I think they thought that that Ambazonians will crumble. We will succumb. They're very afraid of the state in their country. But we believe that we make the state, and when that the government is of the people, for the people, and by the people. We do not believe that the state is more than the people. No. And that is one thing that La République will have to understand, that when you come and you punish our people don't say, oh, mighty God has punished us. No. They're like, no, you have no right to punish me because I am the person who gave you that power to come and be the one organizing us in a particular way. So La République is not going to do that. And I want to tell you another reason why I know La République will win, will fail. Remember the fight between George Foreman and Muhammad Ali in Zaire?
What is my name?
Do you know? No, I don't know. It's not in that one. Do you know what Muhammad Ali's strategy was in Zaire?
No, tell me.
So Muhammad Ali goes into the ring, and he decided that his strategy was to let George Foreman have his way on him for the first 5 or 6 rounds. And he just held himself and stood by the corner and gave his stomach that he's developed. And George Foreman punched that thing, punch until he dropped. And then Muhammad Ali came and gave him the knockout. So Ambazonians, with the little guns they have, or without guns, have refused that might doesn't mean right. And in this case, they are going to make right. And they say we are not going to succumb, come and kill all of us. And Weber said that in Parliament. Mm-hmm. And La République has been killing babies, they've killed cows, they've killed dogs, they've killed everything, burned houses, and nothing has changed. Because that land is Ambazonian land. God did not make a mistake to put Ambazonians there, and Ambazonians are going to own that land by God's will. And La République thinks that, the whole time, every time we were talking, they were just looking at their guns and like, what are you going to do? Remember, their minister actually said, qu'est-ce que vous allez faire? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. They believe in the gun, they believe in, and I think for 3 years, that gun hasn't succeeded. Now they're going to go recruit Bororo people and with their machetes. And you think where the gun did not succeed, the machete would? In every village in our territory, if they decide that the Bororo people over the hill are going to be done in a day, they will be done in a day. Am I telling a lie?
No.
So what are they trying to do? So that is one of the reasons they are going to fail, because there is no day. Pa, look, when you and I come and sit here and we talk, it is not because we feel safe, is it?
No.
Because La République has killed around the world. You were just talking about somebody who was not killed in La République, right?
Yeah,
so we are not afraid of death anymore. And like Gojidinka rightly say it, once you stop being afraid, what happens? Fear changes sides. Who is in panic right now, going around like a mad cow, blowing down everything, even if that tree falls on it? Isn't it La République?
Yeah, it's La République.
Have you heard anybody in Garbuh say, let's stop this thing now and go and bow down to King Biya?
No.
Is it going to happen?
Never.
So, Pa, let's talk about, so with all of this going on, Kamto suddenly changes his tone. and the problems of the Ambazonians and Julius Siseko Julius Tabe being in jail has been a radical cry for him and his followers.
Si ne met pas un terme rapide au bain de sang dans le nord-ouest et le sud. Et je vous le répète, je leur ai fait des propositions depuis au moins 3 ans. La première chose, libérer tous les prisonniers politiques. À commencer par les leaders dans lesquels les populations anglophones qui sont en lutte pour la commerce. Je parle de M. Ayoub Tabé.
What do you have to say about that?
You know, I've told you that these were opportunists. So I think he's gone around the world and he discovered that his election thing is not going to take him anywhere. So, but if he hangs on our cocktails, we can fly him to where he wants to go. Because remember that most people in the world believe that this thing should be arranged within the context of La République. So now Kamto has seen that and believes if he hangs on our cocktails and is talking about the illegal imprisonment of Ayoub Tabé and the killings in Ambazonian and all of that, that is going to take him somewhere. Kamto consider us as secessionists, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he is an opportunist, like every other Bamileke person has been all along. Those who have come to this country, they have sought asylum in this country because of our cases.
Yeah, they used to use SDF, they've used SCNC, they've used our situation to legalize themselves here. Yes.
So that's exactly what Kamto is doing. He's not doing anything different. He's not doing anything new. That has always been their MO. That's how they operate. So it doesn't surprise me that is a rallying cry for him now. When he came here, he did not even want to talk about us. But I think in every powerhouse that he entered, I think the thing that was raised was this problem. So finally he saw that, hey, I have to start talking about this problem, otherwise nobody's going to take me serious. So it is not anything to write home about. But he should understand, like we said last time, that we have two different, even if it's him that is sitting in that presidency in La République today, nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to change. We are not fighting Paul Biya. We are fighting a system. And that system is not going to change automatically because Kamto is president or some other person is president in La République. No. The system that they have, they are thinking the way they think, is not going to change overnight. And we are not going to be part of that anymore.
Yeah, I don't even think that we care about how that, because for 57 years, we gave everything. We gave our all. And they rejected us. They called us names. They called us Biafrans, enemies in the house, Bamenda, Anglo. They gave us all bad names. So we are done with that. Here's what I think. I think you're absolutely correct that Kamto is a Pan-Cameroonese who loves the colonization of the people of Ambazonia. I also think that when he came abroad, he learned both from our own communities, and you just added that he probably has gone to some other places and he's been advised that our issue is more important than anything else that he's trying to talk about, and he now wants to write on to help himself. Mm-hmm. And not only because it's the right issue to be talking about, but he also I'll say this not as strong as you want to say it, that he thinks that he can bring some of us along with him. Let me ask you this: do you think he should continue doing what he's doing? Because and I want to say what he's doing. He had a rally in Douala where he talked about releasing Siseko. There were some of his supporters in Paris that were against Paul Biya and the genocide in Ambazonian, in Garbuh. They had a big banner there with the pictures of the children, better than anything that I've seen Ambazonians do. So are you against what he's saying, or tell me where you are? Are you against what? Do you want him not to be talking about this and to be talking about something else?
So I told you that he is, as a human. See, this is my problem with them. Like, we started this show counting where these things have happened. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So these things did not start happening on the 14th of February. Mm-hmm. They started with this struggle. And all the Cameroonese, the ones that you just quoted in France, mm-hmm. they have never been on the street.
They were quiet, yes.
They went out and encouraged their army to kill our people.
Yes.
They said there was no Cameroonian in that part. They were all Biafrans. And you could also go and look at the reactions of some of their citizens after this Garbuh incident.
Yes. They were happy.
They were happy.
Yes.
So I have not seen Kamto call on his supporters all over the world to go on the streets and protest what is happening to us.
No, but he's doing it now himself.
No, listen, he was in a rally. Mm-hmm. And like in any rally, you make a speech and you tell your supporters what they want to hear or what your policy is. What I'm saying is, I have not seen him in that his rally say, on this day, I want all of you in every nook and corner of the world to come out in La République in Cameroon and shut the streets down and send a message to the guy in Etuji that we as Cameroonians do not condone or support our military to be doing these kinds of things to the people that we consider our brothers.
Okay.
So I have not seen that from him. So whatever he's doing, it's like I told you, he is trying to ride on our cocktails and he doesn't even know how to do it effectively.
All right, let me say this, because I take what he just said as a matter of intensity, because he's already doing that. He's not just as intense as you. No, he could be. He could be in the next. He just started. What I'm asking is, should Kamto be out there talking about our issues like he is, and have his follow? You know, he may have made a phone call that go to the Cameroon embassy today and protest about this. He may have called them. He did not need to do it publicly. Mm-hmm. Are we in support? Let me put it differently. Do Ambazonians benefit from him with the different tone and the different political calls he's making? Is he doing something that can benefit Ambazonians?
Well, let me say it again.
And should we support it or should we oppose it?
No, let me see. Kamto is a free man. Like you said, we should go to his rallies here and all those things and protest.
Yes.
Okay.
And stop him. Yes.
What I am saying, I'm going to repeat what I said. I don't know if you understood, if it answered your question or not. Kamto has gone into the powerhouses wherever he's went around the world. Mm-hmm. And everything they have told him, they did not talk about him losing the elections. Mm-mm. they told him about this problem that exists.
Yes.
And he wants to be president of that country. So it is but obvious that he should come out and behave this way so that those people that he was talking to in Washington, D.C. can see that, yes, Kamto is trying to do something to solve the problem.
Okay.
So he is appealing to the messages that he got while he was on his tour.
Okay.
He is not responding to our problem, because if he is responding to our problem, there is a way to solve our problem. And he has not done that.
All right. I'm just going to make one more expansion and then I'm going to say what I think, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If Kamto, with the mode in which he is now,
Mm-hmm.
and the message he is now,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly, and he has a huge population, a huge following, and then that following takes up and start doing some of the things that you just said, and start clocking the streets, and then La Republique acts the way they acted against us, and they start burning down businesses. Then La Republique withdraw some of his troops from our territory because now he needs to defend his own motherland, and gives us some relief and maybe a chance to even beat them out. I'm just trying to push what he's doing, what it can do, okay? And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, and most of what you're saying, I have considered it, but I'm looking at it and I'm saying, is there an analogy where in the world where there are people who we do not want to be in the same country with, but they're doing things that can benefit our struggle, and therefore we either should be quiet, but definitely not oppose. And I was looking at it and I was thinking, you know, when American troops were in Vietnam killing Vietnamese, and American citizens were on the streets in New York, on university campuses, protesting the war in Vietnam. So I'm thinking, did the Vietnamese like what Americans were doing on the streets and on campuses, or did the Vietnamese not like it? I'm sure the Vietnamese liked it. And so my take on it is that Mr. Kamto went around and heard what you said. I think he heard what we said too, and what a lot of other Ambazonians said. And he realized that whatever he thought he was, the macho-ness that he thought he was trying to show maybe to France Afrique so that they can accept him and let him be the president of Cameroon, because I agree with you that Kamto is not going to be any different than Paul Biya, because he's a France African. He comes out of that system. He knows how the system works. He served it, and he was pretty much mouthing not only the line of La Republique that Cameroon is one and indivisible, but also he was also representing the interests of Bamileke people who have invested very heavily in our land. Somebody was telling me that Bamileke people have bought even into villages, deep into villages. They are there. They've bought land. Don't forget that La Republique, since September 30, 1961, decided that they are going to impoverish us. So the first thing they did was close our ports, refuse to buy our products. Bananas were getting rotten in the whole place because they wanted to bankrupt us. And that's why Victoria is still closed today. The deepest seaport in the whole of West Africa is still closed today. The Tico Wharf is still closed. All our ports are closed. They are closed. We have no relation with the international community. That is not what the two alternatives said. And then they came and destroyed our economy. Destroyed everything.
So come back to Kamto.
Yes, break us up. No, I want to show that I want to show that we have been impoverished, and in our impoverishedness, the Bamilekes have come into our land, and our people, to survive, to educate their children, they've sold all their lands, a lot of their lands to the Bamileke people. And so when you see, I remember when this thing first started, there were, I think Bamileke people were offering Paul Biya money in order to continue the fight in Ambazonia, remember?
Yeah.
Yes.
They did.
So they've done things that we know that they are not for us. and that they are supporting. In fact, there was a time when the Bamileke people in Bamenda wanted the governor to be Bamileke, lands and survey to be. If you go to GRA Bamenda,
and that is what is happening.
If you go to GRA Bamenda, it's all bought by Bamileke people. They even created their own chieftaincy in Mendankwe. So they have taken all our lands. You know what I'm saying? So Kamto was trying to represent all of that. But what I'm saying is, if he's going to go out there now and start talking, he should definitely know that continue. I heard some of the women in Paris saying that I'm a mother too. I don't like these murders, and like you say, these murders have been going on. But please join the fight right now. But the thing is that when Ambazonia is free, and you want to free your country, we'll take a look at that. But we'll never ever be one country again. Anything you want to add to that?
I mean, you just landed where I was.
No, but I think you're trying to say that we shouldn't. You want us to look at him as an enemy, and I'm saying, blow your trumpet in your own country as long as it's going to help me. Go ahead and blow it. I have no problem with it.
No, see, I'm not. I started off by saying that he's a human being, right? And any human being would criticize what is happening to us, the killing of innocent people. But he had not done that for a very long time.
Yes. And so you look at his message as a contrived, conniving thing for his own personal benefit.
It is, if it was coming from somebody else, apart from another Bamileke person, I would have really considered it. But knowing that these people are always opportunists, looking to ride on our backs to get to where they want to go, I can only take that with a pinch of salt.
No, and I don't blame you for it, but I'm saying that the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but I'm not going to go to bed with them. That's all.
Very true.
Anything else you want to add, Pa?
That's the last word.